Welcome back to the Michael Brooks Show. We were just fantasizing about how awesome it would be if Donald Trump was Bernie Sanders' press secretary. That was what we were doing off mic. I was just like, everybody knows Jennifer Rubin's pathetic. The only reason the Washington Post... I heard that they keep her there because they feel so bad for her because she's a cat woman. She would live alone with her cats, but they let her write the column. So, you know, she's going to keep attacking Bernie Sanders, but it's because she's pathetic. By the way, that was... example of the Trump impersonation. People always ask me, like, how much of the impersonation is you? 100% me on that one.
Nice.
Ben Burgis, welcome to the show. You finally in studio. The great Ben Burgis has returned. He's our weekly debunk guest. He's the author of Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left. He teaches logic, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say, and rhetoric at Perimeter State College, Georgia State University. And he's also the proprietor of a great Patreon page. Ben, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, the consummate enthusiasm that you always bring to your introduction, Ben.
Sorry, I was still hung up.
Yeah, I think it's time for your song.
Wow.
You're going to be, I was going to riff with you for a minute, but forget it. Let's just get right to the song.
All right. I was still thinking about Trump and Jennifer Rubin, but, you know.
Well, look, you go right back to it. Maybe the song will get you in the mode. Because Frank want to go to low energy. Really bad.
I will.
So please go.
Okay.
You got to restrain me. Debunk all of it. Logical analysis. You're going to show us how to argue that. Go.
This is based on data from a bunch of different countries. There's abundant evidence that at this point that's bullshit. Breaking down these right-wing arguments and looking at how they're supposed to fit together.
Okay, break it down. Break it down. Break it down. Thank you, Moondog. Kind of sounds like most of the conversations we have on and off air.
More or less.
Yes, Donald Trump, Jennifer Rubin, thoughts?
Yeah. So Jennifer Rubin, that's the New York Post?
No, she's at the Washington Post.
Okay.
She's one of these people who, like, you know, has spent all of her career. She
knows a lot of editors, basically.
She knows a lot of editors. She loves Mitt Romney. And then, you know, one of these, you know, obviously Donald Trump is so uncouth, so I'm anybody but Trump. But it has like a pathological hatred of Bernie Sanders, which I'm going to psychobabble here a little bit. I'm going to attribute some of it to Jewish self-hatred. Because I cannot, I'm sorry. I can't keep, like, if you're a billionaire, it makes sense why you don't like Bernie Sanders. And then and I'm not saying, like, you don't have to vote for him, but, like, to actually hate Bernie Sanders, you're suspect, as they would say in Good Will Hunting. It's just weird. So Jennifer Rubin's like, yeah, but she's like one of these neocons who's just like, oh my God, Donald Trump has Twitter, you know, but then, like, really doesn't like Bernie Sanders. So I would like to see Donald Trump dunk on her on behalf of a Sanders administration. That could be the way. It could be part of his community service when he goes to jail after Bernie beats him.
Yeah, I mean, I do always appreciate the way that, like, leftists are much more honest than liberals about the fact that everybody enjoys watching Donald Trump make fun of people.
Right. Well, and it also makes us the big thing that's happening right now that I find really disturbing, and it doesn't surprise me, but it's like, I keep saying this because I have to ease people into it. It's like, I think you need to beat Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I do not recant my Hillary Clinton, who I will put my sincere contempt for her against anybody's. And I happen to not like her for, like, the right reasons. You should have voted for her over Trump if you were in a swing state. I do not revert. Like, that's the same position I have. And I don't consider that to be vote shaming or whatever.
Is that a term, vote shaming?
Yeah, I've heard this.
Sorry, that's a new one to me.
How's that? Does that fit the test of logic? but I would say that'd be accused of fallacy shaming. Oh, can we play a song again? So but like, you need to beat Donald Trump, 100%. And I
really want to know what the limits of that are. Like, is it just like, you know, is there a piece of, you know, like, piece of garbage shaming. Like I'm a piece of garbage, but I don't want to be shamed for it.
I don't know, but I just think like watching liberals, they are so consumed with hatred about Trump, but then some of them will actually say, and hopefully it's not, they'll try to destroy Sanders, who every day just looks more like, no, this is really the person that is most equipped to beat this guy.
Yeah.
And then secondly, because they're so freaked out and they hate him so much, they have no analytic or strategic capacity to actually understand what he does effectively, which honestly, like, not to like over intellectualize the fact that we're all, just like a bunch of like stupid guys who like Trump because we like shock jock humor. But honestly, like, no, you really should have some understanding of like what your opponent is doing. And all day it's like, can you believe? And it's just like, yeah, I can. First of all, last thing I'll say, yes, I can believe. When are we going to let go of like, can you believe Trump said X? Like, yes.
Yes.
I literally,
my entire experience of watching Trump on television is him saying things like that. So yes. Yeah, I can believe it. But that is it's at least it's a very charitable interpretation that like Trump has just broken them. They just can't think about it, because otherwise I do get really confused, right? Like especially back, like this has receded a little bit, but especially back when all these people were pretending to think that like there was no policy differences between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Then it just seemed like, all right, I mean, at the risk of terrible reasoning and shaming them, then like I would just think like, so if there are no policy differences and we have 4 years of polls showing that Bernie would beat Trump, then wouldn't you support him?
Right. No, it's whatever the nexus point of like a complete inability to assess Trump as part of actually beating him, not just complaining about him incessantly, and like weird pathological hatred of like a nice old man who's fighting through a heart attack to give you health care. Whatever that nexus is a very bizarre, it's like, yeah. Look at this 78-year-old flying across the country to eliminate my student debt. What an asshole. I hate that guy.
I think some of it is that like really their biggest objection to Trump isn't the racism. It's not the genuinely monstrous policies. It's the disruption of the status quo. It's that we could be at brunch right now.
Right.
And if Trump is beaten by Bernie Sanders, then, and if you admit that that's the best strategy for beating Trump, then you're kind of admitting that there's no going back to the pre-Trump status quo. Whereas, hey, even if he's impeached or if he just resigns in shame, like I think they kind of think he'll do, right? that like that illusion never quite goes away.
Even like good faith Republicans.
Yeah. That like if some Republican saves us from him, Daddy Mueller or whatever before that fizzled out.
Right.
Even if Mike Pence becomes president, that's okay because we can go back to brunch because the system works.
Right. Well, Mike Pence isn't like, I don't know, like terrorizing a kid in a wheelchair on Twitter. So that's, I can like, well, and what was incredible is I won't even play this because it was despicable. And we're going to see a lot more of it as he gears up for re-election. But there was that Trump thing where he told that really sick fairy tale at his crowds about the snake. And that was his, the snake represented immigrants and Muslims. And he's just like, you let me in and I bit you, but you should have known, said the snake. Blah. And what's really twisted about it is I've had conversations with liberals while they're talking about like, well, what if Paul Ryan would, or what, that was one. And I got to a point where I was like, the only thing that fits now is I want to give you the Trump talk. Where it's just like the Republicans are a snake. They're here to win. It's an incredible moment when you have a genuine authoritarian politics on the march, and then a weird centrist, whatever liberal response, which is caught in between a complete freak out, which precludes any analytic ability, combined with like actually a real fundamental lack of seriousness about actually beating it. It's I mean that is, and I was wrong. I honestly thought some of that would fizzle out. I thought more of some of these folks. But,
well, I mean, I think they've gotten serious because it's not like it's not like liberals are still supporting like some joke candidate like the mayor of the fourth largest city in Indiana, you know, like
right,
who
really
could not win state election in Indiana, you know, and like trying to put him against Donald Trump.
No, they're not doing that. And it's also not like in addition to endlessly looking for candidates that would absolutely lose to Trump, that they aren't saying like with one, you know, in the beginning of the day, Donald Trump is a without peer existential threat. And then at the end of the day, re-upping the Patriot Act, giving him the Space Force, saying that the problem with assassinating potentially the second most powerful politician in Iran is that there wasn't a tidy press release with it. And incidentally, what's wrong with Iran? War with Iran anyway. All, of course, while, saying like Donald Trump is the worst thing ever besides his attempt to have a coup in Venezuela.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's genuinely astonishing. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.